Hey, what's up, guys? Riley Owen doing my Jim Carrey collection. And I'm gonna try to angle this better. I don't know. I gave up. This is my Jim Carrey collection. Now, for those of you who don't know, Jim Carrey is one of my favorite comedians of all time. He's not one of my favorite actors, but he definitely is one of my favorite comedians in that sense. I mean, he is a good actor. I love some of his dramatic work, but in terms of a comedian, he's one of the best, and along with Jerry Lewis and Adam Sandler. And my dad raised me up on Jim Carrey, so he's one of those ones that me and my dad both have a bond over. So I'm gonna do my Jim Carrey collection. I don't have all of his movies by any means, but we're gonna do this. So we're gonna start with the VHS tapes, which I don't have a lot of, but here we got Liar Liar, one of my favorites. This is a really cool movie he did. Pretty much saved his career from, he just got done doing The Cable Guy when he did this movie, and people thought his career was in the dumps, and it probably was if it weren't for Liar Liar to bring him back up. And it's a very, very funny movie. Directed by Tom Shadyac. That's a really good movie, Liar Liar. Which I also have in DVD right there. Here we got Dumb and Dumber. This was his third hit in 1994, right after the success of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective and The Mask. And I'm not a big fan of this movie. I think it's funny, but I don't consider it one of the greatest comedies of all times. I don't even consider it one of the greatest Jim Carrey movies of all time, which many people put this movie in both categories up at the top. I actually much prefer the sequel to Dumb and Dumber, which is an opinion you don't hear every day. But, for what it is, it's pretty cool. I actually think Jeff Daniels is funnier in the movie than Jim Carrey, which is unheard of for me. If there's a movie with Jim Carrey, he's usually my favorite part. Here we got The Mask. This used to be one of my favorite movies back in 2020, I want to say, around when I first watched it, but it's a good movie. It definitely has a lot of 90s cliche tropes, and this tape is in bad shape, but it's a pretty good movie, based off the comics of the same name. There's a sticker label on that one. The Mask, really good for showing Jim's cartoony side. I guess you see him in all his movies, but this one especially. I believe it was the first film to have CGI effects for a comedic effect and not for special effects, almost. And then for tapes, we have Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, the sequel to Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, which is probably my favorite. But this movie is good. It's very funny. It's probably Jim's funniest movie. But on the downside, this is not directed by Tom Shadyac, who, of course, directed the first film, and it shows. And it also shows that the people, whoever, I can't remember the dude's name who directed this movie, but he does not understand why the first movie was great. He understood one aspect of it, which was the comedy, but he didn't understand the story, I guess, and in the Africa, place. It doesn't really fit in, I don't think, with Ace's character, so I don't think this film should have been made, but it definitely is a really, really funny movie. The first one is definitely better. Let's go on to DVDs next. We're going to start off with Liar Liar. Which you saw on VHS. This is the original DVD with the full screen DVD with the brown strip at the bottom. And the way to tell is if this is an original or not is it'll have the brown strip in the bottom, and the disc will say Liar Liar. You see how it says Jim Carrey Liar Liar on the cover? Well, the reprint says Jim Carrey Liar Liar, but the original rare version just says Liar Liar, and it's in full screen. You get a really cool insert there. Yeah, good movie. Really, really good movie. Probably one of his best comedies, I'd say, Jim's. The Cable Guy, another one of my favorites. This is one that people didn't get back in the day when it came out. I really enjoy it. I think it's a close to a masterpiece. I don't think it's a complete masterpiece, but it is close. And, of course, people love it now, but back in the day, it was, people thought it was going to ruin Jim's career, because it was, it was a darker film, which it's really not that dark, but, for the time, I guess it was. And, yeah, it's pretty good. Matthew Broderick also did a good job in this as well. We got Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Man, probably his best movie. It's just such a classic. You see this movie quoted everywhere, and it's just such a quotable movie. I mean, it's just a classic. It's a comedy classic. You know, I don't like to throw around the term classic that much when it comes to comedies, but this definitely is a comedy classic. And what defines a classic? Well, that's kind of a long thing for me to say. Excuse me. I think it depends on who you're talking to. This is definitely a comedy classic. One of Jim's only comedy classics, again, in my opinion. Just an absolute god of a movie. Here we got How the Grinch Stole Christmas, directed by Ron Howard. I didn't know this was directed by Ron Howard. Of course, most people know him as Opie Taylor in The Andy Griffith Show, which that's where I known him most. I mean, I knew he had some acting and directed some movies. I didn't know he directed this one. So that's very interesting. But this movie is good. It's not great. Pretty much the only reason to watch it is for Jim playing an amazing Grinch. I don't know how he pulled it off. But then, you know, Jim's magic. He works magic. But anyway, I wouldn't say it's a must-see. You can skip this one, but it's a pretty good movie. There's a Ron Howard signature. You know, I wouldn't watch it every year. It's not part of my Christmas viewing tradition, but I know it is for a lot of people. Mixed reviews on that one, I guess. Here we got Mr. Popper's Penguins. This is a good movie. It's definitely a kid's movie, and you can tell. Not that kids' movies are bad, but kids' movies nowadays are bad, and this is right at the tail end of that. I mean, there's a lot of butt humor, which I love butt humor, but not when it's used as your main joke. You can just tell it was made specifically with kids in mind. But hey, you know, it's whatever. Mr. Popper's Penguins, based off the book that I did read as a kid. Dumb and Dumber 2, the very clever title, that is a sequel to the first Dumb and Dumber. Universally hated pretty much, but I honestly think this is better than the first film. I think it's a lot funnier, which you're never going to hear that from another human being as long as you live, but whatever, it's my freaking opinion. I have Knocked Up on Blu-ray, actually, but I think that's the only one. I have not used the code at the back. There is no code at the back. What the frick? Anyway, Dumb and Dumber 2. Series of Unfortunate Events. This used to be one of my favorite movies of all time, and I mean, for good reason. This movie is very hated. I honestly don't get it. I do understand that some people get put off by a film loosely going off a book series, which this was based off a book series that I have never read, but I do know a lot about them. My brother read them. One of my brothers did, and honestly, I mean, I get it, but it really shouldn't matter. I mean, I like to view the films separately, but, you know, I think this was pretty accurate from what I heard. I know it condensed a lot of things, but from the first 3 books, I heard it was pretty accurate. This has a bonus disc. This is interesting. Every copy I've seen of this DVD did not have a bonus disc, but this, because I've had several copies of this in the past, this is the only one with a bonus disc I've ever seen. I've never seen that bonus disc any other time, so I don't know where that came from, but it came in this set, whatever. Got it at a used store, so, you know, anything's possible there. Fun with Dick and Jane, by no means a comedy classic, and it's definitely not one of Jim Carrey's top movies. In fact, I'd say this is one of his worst comedies. Not that it's bad, it's just forgettable. There's not much going for it, it's just pretty forgettable. But it has some good moments in there. And I know it's a remake. I prefer the original film, but anyway, Fun with Dick and Jane. Interesting watch. I'd watch it like once or twice. You really don't need to watch it beyond that. Me, Myself, and Irene. This is one that is very memorable, but it's not that good. The jokes kind of fall flat, a lot of them for me. There's some funny stuff in it, but overall, it's just kind of bad. It seems more of like, how do I put this? It's like you take, I don't know how to describe it, man. It's just a thing. It doesn't feel like a Jim Carrey movie, basically. I should say that. Jim Carrey puts his own isms into it, but it's not, it doesn't really seem like a movie he would do. But anyway, that's it. And it's one of the only rated R Jim Carrey comedies out there. Anyway, here is Copper Mountain. This was Jim Carrey's first movie he ever did. Well, wait, was it his first? I think it was either his first or his third movie he ever did. And this is Copper Mountain. This movie sucks. And you'd think, I got it knowing it would suck. I got it for the collection. But I also had never seen it before. And you would think that Jim Carrey, like, that the movie would have some redeeming qualities. You think Jim Carrey could at least save the movie, but no, he, like, sucks in this movie, and so does everyone else. It doesn't even have a lot of bad movie fun in it. It's just bad. It's not entertaining at all. And I knew that going into it, but I thought it would at least have some redeeming qualities, but there are none. And with Jim Carrey, that's shocking. But, you know, he was, what, 19, 20 years old when he did this? He did a lot of movies in the 80s that were crummy. This is the worst Jim Carrey movie I have ever seen. But it's really fascinating. Here we got Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Jim Carrey movie that's not a comedy. Well, I shouldn't say this isn't a comedy, but Jim isn't a loony, crazed up toon character, you know. He's a real dude in this, and it's a great movie. This has an all-star cast. This is a masterpiece. This movie is definitely a masterpiece. You kind of have to be in the right, I can't say, it's not a movie you can just pick up and watch. You have to experience things in life before you watch it. And you can't just watch it at any time of the day. You know, it's a good movie to watch when you're depressed, as odd as that sounds, but it's a good movie. There we go. There's the disc and the insert. I think I can't remember her name, but I'm pretty sure she's in Dumb and Dumber 2. And there we go. So, Eternal Sunshine, really good. I prefer it over The Truman Show. Excuse me. We got Sonic the Hedgehog. I did not see this one in the theater, but I did see the sequel, Sonic 2, just called Sonic 2, in the theater. It was my first time watching a Jim Carrey movie in the theater. And the movie kind of sucked, but whatever. Had some good Jim moments, and this was the first film, though. Sonic the Hedgehog came out in 2020, so a couple years ago. This was an okay movie. It was just great to see Jim back again. I was so happy when I saw the trailers. I'm like, he's back, yeah! Here's Batman Forever. There's not much to say about it. It's Batman Forever. The movie kind of sucks. It's Joel Schumacher. Not a big fan of his directing style. I think they would work good. I think he's a good commercial director, but for feature films, I don't think he's that great. And Jim Carrey is, hate to say it, but he's the only redeeming quality in this film. The only reason you would want to watch this movie is if you like Jim Carrey. If you don't like Jim Carrey, this movie sucks. You're going to hate it. And the movie does suck, and I do hate it. But Jim Carrey is really the only good part of the movie. I believe this was his 4th or 5th film he ever did. We go on to Blu-rays next. We have Yes Man, which I think should get more credit. People criticize it for being a ripoff of, or not a ripoff, I guess, yeah, ripoff, a Liar Liar. It's not. It's really not. It was based off a book, and the book was a true story. So it's not trying to cash in on Liar Liar. This isn't even a forgettable movie. A lot of people think it's forgettable and not that funny. I think it's hilarious, and I think it's very memorable. The directing is really good. You know, it's nothing super cinematic. It's just, it makes you appreciate life a little bit more and what have you. So, Yes Man is in my opinion, it's sort of a gem, an underrated gem, that no one really seems to give credit for, but I think it's pretty good. And the final film I have here is Bruce Almighty. I've had so many copies of this movie, you have no freaking idea. I think I've had like over 5 copies of the DVD. I've had a couple Blu-rays. I don't have any of those anymore. This is the only copy I have left. Don't ask me what happened there, but Bruce Almighty, it's a pretty good movie. I remember watching this with my dad, because you know, like I said, he showed me Jim Carrey. This is one of the ones he showed me when I first got into him. Great movie. You know, I'm a Christian, so this movie isn't, I wouldn't say it's a Christian movie. It's oh, what's the dude's name? I'm forgetting now. What the frick? Tom Shadyac, who directed this, Ace Ventura and Liar Liar. He directed this movie as well, and he's a Jew, or not a Jew. I think he's a Catholic, I'm pretty sure. And so I wouldn't say it's a Christian movie, or even a movie that has Christian beliefs in it. It's more of a Catholic thing, but Christians value those, the same stuff. So it's pretty cool. Highly recommend it if you're a Jim Carrey fan. And that does it for my Jim Carrey collection. Let's just bam. Oh yeah, having fun making a mess, boy.